So shall I start? Okay, shall I start or you will do something before?
You should start.
Okay. Hi everybody. This is Rafa. I'm from West Bank. I was born in Nablus and I'm located right now in Ramallah. I'm a journalist with a master in democracy and human rights. I'm right now activist with Combatants for Peace, and it's one of the most important organizations working for peace right now between us, Palestinians and Israelis. I really appreciate what you are doing with these demonstrations in Israel, because we feel there is people who's really against the unfair situation which is Israel is living right now, and in the same time all of this depression towards peace within the annexation and within all of the recent hard life that the Israeli occupation for the West Bank is doing for the Palestinians. So I'm one of the people who believes in two-state solution. I always believe that respecting the neighbor as a good neighbor, a good country neighbor to me called Israel, as much as I'm Palestinian with my full rights and capacity as a Palestinian citizen in Palestinian state. And unfortunately, right now, this dream is really, let's say, flying away. Maybe we are more, I don't know if it's one state solution or a ghetto situation, because we have more checkpoints right now. We are facing more military law. Uh, I'm from a liberal family. I work as I believe, as a peace activist since I was in school and then university, and I participated in a lot of international meetings outside the country, calling for a real coexistence between Palestinians and Israelis as partners and neighbors, not as the occupier and occupied people. I always believe there is people who against this bad image for Israel within all of this military uh, procedures, let's say, against children, women, against the Palestinian citizens who's already living in the other side. I'm really, let's say, involved more in the idea of meeting each other and talk more, and especially discuss the details of the life for the Palestinians, let's say, in the other side, and at the same time to know about the details of the Israeli on the other side as two neighbors and two humans. So one of the basic problems we are facing here in West Bank, it's the water shortage, because a lot of water goes to the sake of the uh, settlements, Jewish Israeli settlements. These settlements who has more quantity water than us, and they have more electricity than us. And at the same time, they're occupying the mountains, the top of the mountains. They are seizing more a good land, like more fertilized land, good for farming. And they are surrounding small Palestinian villages, like around Ramallah, around Nablus, around Jenin, around Tulkarm. And all of these Israeli Jewish settlements, they have radicals, people who do not believe in our existence, the people who do not believe that we have the right to stay here as much as Israel has the right to be established. And they're attacking us, attacking Palestinian farmers who do olive harvesting, for example, or farming their lands, or even going to the wells to have more water from there, because underground water is a basic for farming, and it's one of the basic problematic things in the conflict. A lot of these radical guys, they're attacking families when they are do picnic, like do barbecue parties when they are in their land or some open areas like some mountains and in many other places. One of the hard stories that one of my friends who live in Al Mghayr, and it's one of the villages close to Ramallah, and this Mghayir village, it's one of the extended villages which is reached to the Jordan Valley, where the annexation will start. He was with his little kid and his old father, and they were like preparing a place to do a barbecue party after the after the iftar Eid, after Ramadan. And we supposed to meet there because it was a quarantine during Ramadan and no ability to meet and to gather as families during Ramadan. Ramadan is a fasting month for Muslims, and people should fast from sunrise until sunset, and they gather at the sunset on the table to have food. And my friend, he was attacked by a group of settlers with guns, and they tried to kidnap his son. And that was shocking for everybody. He was smart enough to take the kid and put him in his car and drive directly to the closest Israeli police station and report for that kidnapping and attacking operation. And Bet Salem, they wrote about this. The father called Tariq, and it's from Al Mghayir area. And if you open for Bet Salem website in English or in Hebrew, you can read about this story. We have checkpoints, and it's a tough checkpoints. We are sharing same roads with the settlers, and they are always armed. They are really threatening us in everything. So this is like occupation by these radical settlers. And in the same time, there is a military occupation that when you see the only type or only face of Israelis by being soldiers and people who has gun all the time and pointing directly to your head. I always believe there is good friends on the other side, people who believe like me, peace, and gonna have a good neighbors called Palestinians too. I'm really glad that we are
Uh,
in a position that we can talk together by all of these social media tools. And we were in the same threat when coronavirus, the COVID-19 attack us, because that make us quite equal. Like Palestinians and Israelis, we all were threat by the virus. We all should do the same measures and let's say medical awareness and all of the quarantine and be be more careful about immune system. I will be more frank with you that I felt like we are totally equal. One enemy attacked us all, and we have to act like humans without who I am, who are you, what's my origin from, what's your religion is, what's your name is, what's where do you live. So thank you for hearing me, and I totally support you with these demonstrations and keep working because we believe people like us should be stronger day and day. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So, Rafa, maybe you can, for you'll also help people to ask questions if they want. But I'd like to ask, um, how did you experience the occupation along the years, and what and when brought you to become a peace activist? I mean, were you always uh, in this perspective, or in some stage your perspective changed? Um, so, if you can talk about this.
Yes, it's about peace, the idea of being in a peace. I grew up under occupation. I grew up, the only picture that I see it for the Israeli, it's the soldier who stopped me in Hawara checkpoint or in other checkpoints, who people who always wear the army suits and they always have guns and they are ready to shoot. And if they shoot, they will kill. uh, my dad, he was secular, and in the same time he believed in non-violence resistance. So he always asked us, me and my brothers and sisters, that if we wanna feel like different, we should tell the world about how ugly is occupation. We should be smart. We should meet others and tell them. And in the same time, when we meet others, we will understand what type of talk we should do and what type of information they missed. So we have to tell them. Truly, I met Israelis and civilian one abroad when I was participating in conferences in Europe. And then I start to meet that normal, ordinary people like me, not the people who I grew up seeing them. So the idea of, let's say, developing the concept of peace, it was developing itself every time I was seeing new people, participating in new people. At the end, we are all humans, but limitations and the ability of not being able to go to Israel by a visa while you have to go to Israeli army post and apply for a permit, and that permit is not available all the time, and the environment of that army post is not like a nice, respect place. It's full of soldiers and not enough seats to feel like you can wait for a few hours. Sometimes you have to wait for 8 hours, and it's a place for like most of the people around you are men, and some of them they are the workers, Palestinian workers who go and work in Israel. So the idea itself, it's like the environment, it's more not a good environment for people like me who likes to apply online, for example, for a visa, not for a permit, not go to army post, not being searched 2 or 3 times, not being asked personal questions about my family and neighbors and blah 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 stuff. I'm applying for a permit to go to Israel to participate in, let's say, workshop, or to visit Jerusalem, or to visit the beach at least. So why you are asking me, and in a way that you are investigating me? So that's hard, but in the same time, because I believe in what I believe in, I kept developing the concept. The new thing that I have it's when I met the people of Combatants for Peace, like people who were in Israeli jails and they were fighters, and then the other side, the people who were soldiers, and both of them, they believed I'm right, the other is wrong. The other side believed he's right and the other side is wrong. So when they met together and they decided like this is not gonna be the solution, that's more a good concept for me, by being with Combatants for Peace, to believe in, yes, let's say, different methods, different ways, more human talk with each other, that will give us more good chances to talk to each other. And one of the things that I figured out, that the Israeli government wasn't interested to build any kind of bridges between us and you. And the same, it was Palestinians, they refused this, the idea of meeting the others. Even they work with the Israelis, even they do like commercial things. They import by Ashdod, and they deal with the bridges, but like a social community, social concept, you can work with them but not talk with them within a friendship talk, while the Israeli government and the Israeli civic society never built that bridges to. So this is why we are totally in two different sides, and there is a big gap between us, while we are so close to each other. We are sharing the same spot. And you know how like the space of Palestine, Israel in general, it's a very small spot, and we are sharing it. We like it or not, we are sharing it. So since there was no bridges, so there was no culture, no common culture, no common talk, no common dialogue. That brings more problems between us, and that make the gap bigger and bigger. Right now, I feel different. Right now, I speak to you directly. You are a bunch of people refuse this situation, and you are reflecting your opinion. And there is no, let's say, any kind of personal in touch or direct in touch. But you are ready to hear me, and I'm ready to hear you. And to me, this is one of the best steps we ever should do it and keep do it. And I wish if we start doing that before, really before. I hope I answered you.
Yes. Thank you. Anyone has a question? Um, okay, so I'd like to ask you another question. Um,
I
how is
can't hear you
your
well. Sorry.
okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I'd like to ask, how is your way fighting? How is it perceived by other um, by other Palestinians, by other people in your community, or your family? You said that your father was a liberal, but do you face challenges, um, like social challenges, because of the way you decided to work or something like that? So we have new people who joined us, so I will explain the content. אנחנו כאן במפגש של שלום. מפגש של תנועת לוחמים לשלום, רפה, שהיא פלסטינאית מהגדה, לא, היא בזום, וזהו, אנחנו מדברים. רוצים שהצטרפתם. So,
Okay.
yes.
So I can easily answer that we have our stereotypes about you as much as you have your own stereotypes about us. Like many Israelis, when I met them, I did let's say, a speech at Rishon LeZion, and I met 100 lady there, 100 Israeli lady living in Rishon LeZion. And the first question they asked me about, do you still believe that you should throw us in the beach, in the sea, like Israelis should be in the sea? And I told her, I never believed in that because I never heard that in my family. But do you still interested to throw the people of Gaza in the sea? And she said, no, of course. I told her, so we are the same. We can't believe in such stereotypes, which is put us in the corners as people. And we are just repeating what others say without even thinking about them. Being a peace activist is it's not an easy choice, but it's a brave choice, by the way. Many people, they are interested in participate, and many people, they want to have that much of activity with the Israelis, but in the same time feel, let's say, kind of equality in the other side. When I was participating in some meetings, I was young, like 28, 30 years old, while the other Israelis who were with us, they were like 60, 65, 70. And I felt like, why young people in Israel not interested in being peace activists? Why just old people? Why just people who are in who retired people? Not young people like me, not people should finish the military serve and services and should start doing their own future. This is one of the things which sometimes stop let people do not really think strongly about being a peace activist. But in the same time, when there is an Israeli attack, we are always under attack by the Palestinian community. Do you see your friends? They are flying and bombing Gaza. So we are blamed many times, but in the same time, many people, they are like, let's say, placing our steps, placing our peace activism, and say, yeah, you should keep it. At least let the new generation do something different than what we used to do. And I heard this the same in the Israeli community. There's people who attack the peace activists by accusing them they are leftists, and I was surprised. It's kind of shame to be a leftist. A leftist. It was like, oh my God, is that wrong? Then I understand people, they want to feel more about their humanity more than to be considered or labeled for the right or left. And that I understand it, but in the same time, we need to work more. Your demonstrations uh, in front of Netanyahu's house in Jerusalem, people here, they are talking about it really much. The media, Palestinian media, mention it a lot because they feel the soul of the Israeli street is back. People are feel tired like us, and they don't want to keep running after the Netanyahu interest by making war in order to have more achievements toward more personal achievements, more than to be for the people of Israel, more than to be for the state of Israel as a state who has a good neighbors, not to be the attackers all the time. Uh, People can change if they felt more, let's say, actions on the ground. And this is what we were doing all the last period since I participated to Combatants for Peace. And we are all the day have activities. Every time we have activities. And before that, I was volunteering with Women Wage Peace. And last year, 2019, and I participated in a speech in Tel Aviv when they did the big march in September. And I spoke to the people in Tel Aviv while Hanan Ashawi did not do that. I spoke to the people to the women of Israel, to the women of Tel Aviv, and I was so proud. Even it was really scary because it's Tel Aviv, and the same I did it in other spots like Jerusalem, like Lud, where there's a plenty of Palestinians there living with Israeli identity, but they still have confusion about their their nationality or their beliefs. So I participate in very brave situations in order to support the idea that we, the peace activists and who believe in peace, we should do more good future for us. We should end this. We should end the occupation and have equal rights and live in a good conditions as humans. We should have the equal rights.
Okay. So, יש שאלות? שאלה טכנית, אין אפשרות להגביר את הווליום? רגע, הכי חזק, כי נתקע לי קצת, כן. כאילו זה לא שלנו. שומעת? Can you hear me? אז Hello, Rafa.
Yes, I can hear you. Hi.
My, my name is Elvis, and I just want to say thank you for sharing your story. And yeah, I don't really have any questions, but thank you for sharing your story. And I think we need to talk. We need to get to know each other. Otherwise, this isn't going to stop. So, thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm very glad that more people are coming and listening. And when we are recording this meeting, maybe you can like share it with some friends. And I'm always ready to talk to you guys. And I hope the virus will go and we can have a good vaccine and maybe we can meet you in person. Maybe I can come and see you in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, uh, in any place that we can really talk and meet and discuss things in a very nice way. And I want to remember something. I can't even remember the name. That uh, when Israel was started, you start to establish not a village. What you call it?
Kibbutz?
Kibbutz.
Kibbutz?
Exactly. So yeah, one of my interests is to visit a kibbutz and talk to people there. Like I never been in kibbutz, for example. This is the things which I feel like I need to have more information about it and meet more people, more different people who lives in kibbutz to know what kibbutz, what does it look like, and how is it in reality, not just as what I read about it. I forget the name. I
Just
don't know why.
so
You are from kibbutz, Elvis?
so Elvis is from a kibbutz. He just said that he is actually from a kibbutz. Um,
Yeah, because when I was abroad, like I met a lot of people who came and built kibbutz in Israel, from Sweden, from Germany, from France, and people they were really very proud to help like Israelis to have their own state. And to me, it was like, wow, I never know that Israel was built in this nice way, more sharing, understanding, and socialism.
yeah. It some may say that actually the kibbutz didn't really work, but it's you can
The
argue about
concept, let's say, that time.
it.
Okay. Okay.
Ah, hello, Rafa. My name is
Hi.
Eli, and I think I want to maybe say a bit of what I think is like how I see the conflict today, or maybe like what is a really big challenge that I see, and maybe I say it to you and also to the friends here in the circle. Um, that for me, one of the biggest obstacles, the challenges, is just lack of knowledge of meeting Palestinians in our daily lives and hearing how is it to live as a Palestinian. I think first of all because of the language barrier, because most of, most of the Palestinian media is in Arabic and most of the Israelis don't speak Arabic. So we just don't know how it is to live day-to-day life as, as, as a Palestinian here. And also just learning about the history. I think so many Israelis will, first of all, argue, is there an occupation or is there not an occupation? Um, Not even mentioning, talking about what happened in 48 and the Palestinian refugees, which is the root of this conflict, I think. Um, and this is kind of a conversation that still happens or doesn't happen just within Hebrew speakers, within Jewish people here in Israel. That's what I feel. So I would like to hear your opinion about it, what we can do as Israelis to improve this, or what is your opinion? And also the friends here, what do you think? Thank you.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. It's like lack of information, not enough knowledge, and in the same time ignoring the other. Like I was surprised inside Israel itself when the neighbors they were not talking to each other, just call each other the Jewish family and the Arab family, and I was like, really? You are sharing same street? Buying from the same grocery, having the same nationality, Israeli nationality, and you don't even recognize each other like as a neighbors, just Jewish neighbor and Arab neighbor. There is really lack of information inside Israel itself, and for sure there is lack of information about Palestinians who lives in Gaza and in West Bank too. And there is a big gap in Jerusalem itself. Like I never believed what I've seen in Jerusalem for the Palestinians who live in East Jerusalem and for Israelis who lives in West Jerusalem. And in the same time that interior checkpoints inside Jerusalem itself. And I was like, wow, it's still Jerusalem under Israeli law, under Israeli the authority, and there's checkpoints inside Jerusalem itself. I was totally shocked. That reflects that the government wasn't, all the governments, all Israeli governments, they were not interested to build the bridges between people themselves. And the only samples which, let's say, succeeded and hardly, Haifa as a mixed city and Nafeh Shalom. And the people who lived in Nave Shalom, I think others, they consider them more like people who has that fancy dreams, or like people who's from the aliens, like from a different planet, but not the Earth. But such a mixed places, not not any of the government supported, not any of the parties, political parties supported, and that make more I can say more hatred, more gap, more foreign feelings toward each other. Especially you are buying from the same grocery store, sharing the same beach, sharing the same street, going to the same transportation authority to renew your license, let's say, or having mobile phone services. So why all of this division inside Israel itself? That make me feel more sure that yes, there was no interest for knowing about the other, for the Palestinians, for the people who living like across the borders, or living at the other side of the checkpoint, or even the wall. You know, we are sharing a wall right now. We have a wall. You have it from your side with the paints, very nice paints, and on our side it is very ugly. It's cement 9 meter wall, the one in Azariya and in up north in Jayus and many places in West Bank. So I hope we can do something as people who really believe in peace and believe in our neighbor. Like I really believe in you guys. I'm very proud that I'm talking to you all, and you are hearing me. I'm so glad for that.
Thank you. I think we are honored to talk with you as well. It's a wonderful opportunity to really have a conversation. And I agree with all of your examples, because we have so many examples of this division, of how our reality is totally different on different sides. How we are divided, just two sides. Like Jerusalem, it's basically two cities. Like West Jerusalem and East Jerusalem are so different. It's so bizarre just walking from one side to another and seeing the differences. But I wanted to hear your opinion about it, because I think it's not. I agree that it's on the human level of we have, I don't know, we live in the same city, or we buy from the same grocery store and we don't know each other. This is on the humane level. But even I think the I don't know, my opinion is that the problem is even deeper on the factual level. Like we don't know the facts of Palestinian life, of Palestinian history and Palestinian reality. So I would like to hear your thoughts about that, or maybe thoughts here in the circle, if someone wants to talk also, about how we can approach this, how we can learn each other's reality.
I can answer.
We need to work more.
Talking. We've been talking a lot. Not I've been enjoying. I just so I think that one of the problems is that we have to. Well, first of all, I think history. You know how our society sees history is always the winner writes history,
Mm-hmm.
and I think in every nation that exists right now, a lot of people have suffered throughout the construction of that new culture, and usually it's not written in a lot of societies that exist today on every continent, even every continent. Um, and I think one of the main things we need to do is basically a conscious shift of how how we interact, because how I see how our society is shaped is that we interact by what is different and not by what is common. And when we interact by what is different, even on communication between myself and a friend or a person I just met here on the street in Jerusalem, um, it's on what is different and not what is common. And when we talk about the common, it brings us together. When we talk about the different, it separates us. And I think worldwide, it's a shift that needs to change. And we could be an example.
I totally agree with you, for sure. Yes, these things we never been practicing it enough. We start practicing it about we have differences for sure, and we don't know enough about each other, but we have the common bonds which we can build from it a lot. Even if you want to do peace building, you need the first basic for it. It's trust, building trust. And none of the politicians were interested to build trust between the both nations, the both people. They were more interested about businesses, war, and they were not interested in the human level where you can really bring people together and things we can build on it, and let's say make it the human achievement that we can prove it to everybody that yes, we can do it as a two people, as two nations, as good neighbors. And I hope from these meetings we can start doing something. Like, I totally support this idea, and I'm always ready to plan more and more, work more and more, and to build people to talk about what's common, how we can stronger these common points in order to be positive enough in our societies. We need to be more positive in our societies. We had enough from anger, hate speech, and all of that negativity. I'm really tired from negativity, so we need a good hope and a good project to work in it. Itai, I think I should
Yes.
go.
Hi, Rafa, it's Yair from the north, from the Galilee. How are you?
Hi, it's good to hear you too.
Good to hear you too. Thank you very much for this meeting. I just
You,
wanted to tell our friends that it's possible to meet Palestinians even in the time of Corona. Remind me, where do you live, Rafa?
5 دقايق بخلص، 5 دقايق بخلص.
Yeah, you live in Nablus, right, Rafa?
Itai, let's meet later. And it's like I can't really hear you well.
Okay. I just in Nablus.
Can you say it again?
Hear
Sorry, I
me
can't hear you. What was it?
correctly? I wanted to ask you, I wanted to ask you, Rafa, which parts of the West Bank are you able to cover? You are able to travel to Jericho, to the Jordan Valley, to Bethlehem. Which parts of the West Bank can you visit? You have permits to get into Israel?
Yeah, it's West Bank is open to us to meet everywhere. Like you have to pass through checkpoints to move from a city to city and from a city to other big villages. I'm able to be in everywhere, but you have to, let's say, if we agreed, me and you, to meet, let's say, at 11 a.m., I should move, let's say, 3 hours before the meeting, because I can't guarantee the checkpoint. It will be a hard one or easy one. And how many checkpoints in my way, for
Yeah.
example. This is the things
Wait,
which
Rafa,
you should
we
think
can
about
hear
it.
you.
And right now with the quarantine, there is some problems, like some places are closed because of the spreading of coronavirus, but like in a normal condition, I can be in Bethlehem, I can be in Jericho, I can be in Ramallah, I can be in Nablus, in Kalkilia, and Tulkarm, and I can meet you in Area C, where it's able for Israelis to come and visit. But it's always the way of, is the road have a plenty of checkpoints or not, and how's the checkpoint look like tonight? Is the officer who's serving there, he has a good mood and he's not stopping cars, he's not collecting ID and talking with the intelligence agency to be sure that none of these people in the car are terrorists or not? And some of them, they have a bad mood, they can like search each car under any kind of accusation, they can stop a car because there's a bunch of young people there and they want to make sure that these people are not a terrorist, because we're accused all the time that we are terrorists, unfortunately. So this is one of the things that you have. to make sure like 3 hours before your meeting you should be start moving from city to city. And I hope this will finish soon. It's really exhausting, truly.
Okay, thank you very much, Rafa. You said
You're
you need to go,
welcome.
right?
Thank you, friends, for listening to me. I'm very glad to talk to you and hope we will meet soon. Bye.
Bye, Rafa.
Thank you.
Bye.
باي باي. ماشي. بطل